Hi again, this is Barbara Kim with the Blue Mask Group, and as the months have gone by, we've changed the sizing and we've changed how they're sewn a fair bit. So I want to update you on the different things we're doing, especially because our biggest and most frequent change has been with the nose wire. Over the time we've been sewing these masks, we've used several different types of wire. There's this, which is an aluminum strip. When you get a kit, you may have had those in there, or you may get a kit with these, which are the same aluminum strip, which has hot glue, the halyard fabric to it, and that is just because it makes it a bit stronger. We've also gotten these wonderful things. They're not aluminum, they're made of stainless steel, so once they bend, they tend to stay bent and they don't break, which has been a real drawback with some of the aluminum. In addition to those, we have the plastic coated wires like this, which of course straighten out. So there have been different types of kits that come with different types of supplies. If you got a kit with these strips, which you can see are the same length as that, and these polar fleece strips, then you'll be also getting these wires. If you got a kit that didn't come with the long strips, but instead came with these short strips, I'll show you how to sew that, and you'll have also gotten this, or possibly the stainless steel ones to go in there. This is used as nose padding, and this one's really pretty straightforward and simple, but we've also figured out a way to make nose padding for the wires without using polar fleece, because as everybody knows, a lot of supplies have been in short supply. A lot of things we haven't been able to purchase. So this is one of the masks. If you got a kit with this and this, you're able to make a mask like this, and I think you can see pretty well here. There's a piece of polar fleece in there for padding. The line of stitching only goes through one layer of the halyard. You can't see any stitching on the front, and that's important. We need to make as few holes as possible in this fabric. The holes don't heal up like they do in regular woven fabric. If you didn't get that kind of mask, you might have gotten one like this, and you can't see any stitching on either side because there isn't any. I basically made a little hammock that goes inside there, and the wire is hanging down, and there's extra padding for it. Okay, so here's, you can see, this is the casing for the nose wire, which is already in there, and it's in this little hammock which actually hangs free. I will show you how to sew that one right now. You take one of this is the right side. Can you focus in on that? Focus in, you can see the right side, that's the wrong side is smoother, the right side has more of the little bumps. Okay, so take this, fold it right sides together, line up the top, try and crease the bottom. I use clips. You can also use plastic coated paper clips, hair clips, any kind of clips you want. So now I have that together. Next, I'm going to move 1/4 inch down from the top. So I'm not going to line this up flush with the top. I'm going to fold it in half and put it 1/4 inch down. I know that seems weird, but it'll make sense in just a minute. So now you can see this is folded right sides together. This is attached to the wrong side. And now you can see I've got a special foot here. This is a 1/4 inch measurement. So I'm now going to go 1/4 inch from this edge, not from the top. And I'm going to sew a seam all the way across. Like so. Okay. Now you can see I've made a little hammock. I'm going to turn this inside out. then I'm going to kind of roll it back and forth between my fingers to get that flat. We want this seam to be right at the very top. Now, hopefully, let me get a nose wire out. Okay, now I hope you can see this. This is the little hammock hanging down, and then here is that top seam. So what happens now is I will put the nose wire in right there into the hammock, which means I have to take off the clips. So I'll put it right there in that hammock, and I'll move it till it's at the middle, so I've got plenty of sewing room. And now I'm going to roll it a little bit more, put the clips back, and look right here at the side. So you can see, here's the hammock for the nose wire casing, and this is 2 layers of the halyard, and it will act as padding. So if you get a kit like this that doesn't have the padding, you don't need the padding because you're using that. So that means when the mask is finished, there will be absolutely no needle holes running across the body of the mask that you bead through, and this will be padded. Now, I put the nose wire in this hammock, and now it's really hard to tell which was the front and which was the back. So I'm going to take a piece of chalk. This hammock and the wire is close to there, so that is going to be the outside of my mask, which is what I use the sidewalk chalk for. Because that way, when I start to pleat it, I know if that's the outside. See, I almost made the same mistake. Start to pleat it. And if you look here again, you can see that this part will be against your nose, and there is 4 layers of halyard acting as padding against your nose, so it's nice and soft without needing to use the polar fleece. So that's how we do that one. Let me also show you how we do the hammock if you have one of these or one of these for your nose wire. Because as I said, we never know what we're going to be able to get at any particular time. So for this, it's pretty short, which is good because this needs to go completely inside it, or this needs to go completely inside it. Let me show you what this mask looks like when it's finished. Here you go. And it doesn't have this piece inside it. So let me put it in so we'll be able to slide those in. Scoot it straight to the middle. And that's appropriately padded and very comfortable for most folks. So that's the inside of the mask. And you can see this little casing. But again, we don't ever want holes piercing all the way through from front to back of the mask. We want to have as few holes as possible in the breathing area. So this time, for these, I'm going to have the right side out, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, I only needed to do this at the very first, and after that I was able to eyeball it just fine. But I'm going to mark a line right down, let me do it here, right down the middle horizontally. Then I'm going to space this so there's about equal amount of space on either side. And then watch how I sew this. Stop, and I'm going to turn. I'm going to sew all the way across. And then I'm going to sew back up. There we go. So now to make the hammock, or in this case it's going to be a pouch, we just fold this back up all the way. Going to clip it while I then move this up and do that on top. So you can see how that's going to go. And now I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam all the way across. I do not do very much back tacking on this because it really isn't necessary, because that seam will soon be covered by something else. It'll be covered by a crossing seam. So now, turn this inside out. And you can see there, I'm going to do the same thing where I roll it between my fingers, flatten it out. Now you can see this nice little pocket or casing for either this, can go in there, no problem. The advantage to this particular type of casing is that, there we go, in case this nose strip ever breaks, it'll be replaceable. We have never ever had any of these wires break yet, so we don't worry so much about making those replaceable, but these we have had a small number break. If it's this one, you can pretty much guarantee it'll never break because it's stainless steel. So the next thing I need to show you is the chin dart. Just because a lot of people have had a hard time with the chin dart, I'm going to sew this in a lighter colored thread so it'll be very obvious. Alright, so this, in case you can't tell, is an extra large mask. I've already done the pleating and the edges and the casings, everything's ready, except for I haven't put in the chin dart. So here's where the nose strip is going to go, the aluminum or the stainless steel, and I already marked here 3/4 inch up. And then what I'm going to do is inside of the mask in one hand, and then I'm going to pop it, pull those two together so that I'm lining up this seam and that seam, which may or may not line up with the edges, and then I'm going to sew the dart. It'll be right down the center. It needs to be 3/4 inch high and 3/4 inch wide. And this is important because this particular dart, this seam, has more stress on it than any other seam in the mask. So I'm going to start right at the top, and I'm going to stitch fairly small stitch. Mine's 2.5 millimeters, not super small, it's kind of average, I guess. Go one stitch off the edge, and then I'm going to back stitch. Now, then I'm going to angle it slightly and forward stitch all the way down to the bottom again. One stitch off the edge, back stitch. Then I'm going to angle it slightly again. And let me clip those threads. Should be able to see nice and clear. That dart is not going to come out, especially because I also use fray check. So the stitches don't all go right on top of each other because that would basically just be perforating the mask fabric. So they're very close to each other. But this dart is now super strong. And then we'll finish the mask.